Okay, hi guys, welcome back to the Daily Levels channel. Welcome back to another review, and this one is an absolute banger. This is one of the best earphones I've listened to in a long time, and thank God for that, because this was getting tedious, and you probably noticed there wasn't a lot of reviews coming out. And that's because companies were sending me stuff, that's because I was buying stuff, that's because I was sending stuff back, because it all sucked. It was all generic, nothing, apart from the audio stuff and a few other things. The market was stagnant right before Christmas, which is really weird because now I've got a whole bunch of earphones in. I've got about 10 reviews lined up, all for stuff that is hit it out the park and absolutely nailed it. Don't know why they didn't introduce that before Christmas, but that's the way they did it. Anyway, SimGot is a company that I reviewed maybe 10 years ago and blew my socks off when it came out. Sounded absolutely fantastic, very smooth sounding earphone. And then they decided that they weren't going to play ball with anybody. They weren't going to get it out to reviewers. They weren't going to get it out to distributors, and they were going direct to market and a few obscure things, maybe AliExpress and stuff like that. And they got completely overlooked, and rightfully so, because they weren't paying any attention to the market or what the consumers wanted. There was almost a sort of arrogance to the way they were behaving. Finally, they seem to have got themselves into bed with Linsol, and thank God for that, because their stuff is really good and it deserves the light shone upon it. Now, the EA1000, when I saw it come in, as somebody that went to university to do aeronautical engineering, I know what Fermat's last theorem is, and I was like, okay, that is a slight signal to me about the design of this. Then I went on to read about the methodology behind the driver tech on the inside of it. And I always poke fun of companies like Kinera, Tangzhou, other ones. Anybody that comes out with the BS story and the BS marketing about how they were inspired by Norse gods or Chinese emperors or dynasties and stuff like that, all horse donkey BS. Also companies that try and reinvent the wheel in their marketing, saying that their dynamic driver is special. This driver seems to have been designed in-house by SimGot themselves and not plucked out of a factory in Shenzhen, just out of the factory creating this new technology that somebody's the first to adopt and claims it as their own. This is spectacular, and this is a rival for the planar magnetic earphones in terms of detail resolution. Now back to Fermat's last theorem. 1637, created by Fermat, 1995, Professor Andrew Wiles solved it or came up with the answer, and 96, I think he won the Abel Prize for mathematics. And I don't know how much he got, but that must have been a lot, because I think nowadays it's like $1 million or something like that. So you are an absolute rock star in mathematics. In fact, Fermat's last theorem drove people absolutely bonkers, like drove mathematicians like to a life dedicated trying to solve this thing. You know, there would be people that had their regular jobs, and at night they would spend their time trying to understand and come up with this. So it's not something that anybody knows. Everybody knows about Norse gods, everybody knows about Thor and Raiden, Chinese market, I'm sure they know about the dynasties and stuff like that. But real nerds know about Fermat. And to me, that's sort of nodding the fact that if an engineer that works for SimGot or the creator of SimGot wanted this to be on the box, it does show the type of person they are, and therefore, like, the fact that they designed their own driver. While I'm not saying, I don't believe in the marketing BS that is on the inside of this box, which I'll show you, which is actually really cool packaging. Again, Fermat's theorem. You pull up here and you get the warranty card pops up, etc., etc. But down here I did read it, and it was some BS in here. For humans, the sense of duly everlasting inheritance and progressive spirit and the most precious and valuable qualities. With this work, we would like to pay tribute to the great pioneers. It's more believable for me, and in terms of the performance, which we're going to talk about now, it is really something quite special. Packaging, beautiful. Ear tips, adequate. Show you them here. The ear tips are pretty standard silicone fair, nicely laid out, and lots of different size options on it, different bore sizes. I would advise anybody that gets these earphones to go ahead and get a set of the Asless EndoFit tips. Best tips on the damn planet. Use them on everything. Leave a link in the description below to that. And they do fit on this, and that's important because they do have a sort of shallow medium depth insertion. So if you want a little bit more purchase in your ear, just so it's going to hold a little bit better, and it does sound fantastic. The Asless EndoFits are the ones that I go to. Carry case, very good. Cable, spectacular, absolutely beautiful cable. It's nice, thick gauge on it. 2-pin recessed connectors with metal bodies on it. 3.5mm jack, gold plated 3.5mm there. Strain relief, splitter, and cable cinch in gold. The only thing is that it's not a balanced cable, and these earphones did sound a little bit more energetic when I did switch them over my The Audio cable. I'll leave a link to that in the description below as well. It was a balanced 4.4 connector, used at the iBasso DX320, but I don't think that these earphones have any problem being driven. They are quite an efficient set of earphones, and it's not the case that you have like in a planar magnetic earphone that you need extra power to really see them shine. These sound very, very good. The bodies are all chrome, which is a fingerprint magnet, but I think it doesn't look as bad because the outside has this sort of glass background here with a little step up on the outside. It looks very, very premium. So once they're in your ear, you don't really see the fingerprints on the side of it. On the back, big, I think this is for the passive radiator, big ventilation there, plus 2 smaller holes, I think, for the dynamic driver on it. And then you get this little detachable nozzle system. And if I'm going to talk about the detachable nozzle system, which we have here, we have 3 different options for the tuning. I am not a big fan of detachable nozzle systems because companies like FiiO throw it in as an afterthought and a marketing gimmick. I don't see any value in it. You're not going to go ahead and you're not going to pick up this, I'm going to listen to some raps, so I'm going to listen to the bass ones. No, nobody does that. You set it up one time and you're gone. But unlike other companies, SimGot have thought about this, and they've designed all 3 filters as different variations of the Harman target curve. Now, the Harman target curve is developed as a sort of average. It is not like this is the best way to listen to EDM, this is the best way to listen to rock. It is not the best way to listen, full stop, because there's differences in the curvature of your ears, there's differences in presentation, differences in your personal preferences. And for me, I'm somebody that actually can quite like a sort of Harman curve targeted earphone, but I always seem to bump up the bass a little bit, especially in the mid bass, and maybe a couple of decibels in the low end, just to get a little bit more oomph out of it. So essentially, by doing the 3 different filter tips and adjusting the Harman curve, which you can see in the dotted line there, you've got one that's like lower bass, a little bit more prominent in the lower mid bass. It's going to sound better with male vocals, for example. You've got these variations of the Harman curve already built in, so there's not that necessity to EQ it in, and it can be closer to your personal preference. Now, for me, I've just gone with the simple chrome ones that came in the box. I think that sounded best. With all of them, there's nothing that stands out as converting these into a bass monster, and that I think is very important because so many companies like FiiO mess this up by trying to create, we've got a bass heavy earphone, we've got a treble sensitive earphone, and you're trying to go from one extreme to another. Whereas SimGot have sort of stuck in the middle and given you slightly different flavors of the same dish, slightly different presentations. That's the way to go with these adaptable filters, because you're not going to make a driver that is not bass prominent, sound bass prominent through filters, etc., etc. With this in its stock setup, the bass is adequate in terms of depth in the sub-bass response. It's adequate, and it's adequate in terms that it can work with pop, it can work with EDM, it can work. It's just not like super focused towards those specific areas. Where it absolutely blows the competition at the price away, and I believe these are about $200 in that sort of rough price point, up or down depending on where you buy them. Links again in the description below. I think they're at Linsoul just now, maybe on Amazon. The mid-range is blow your socks off good. Like, it has got all the qualities that you get from a planar magnetic driver. That black background, that ultra sharp clarity and detail, like unbelievable detail retrieval, unbelievable speed, airiness to everything, the imaging and separation, like the ability to like look around and wonder where the sound is coming from, the dissipation of tones and notes where it just falls away into this black background of sound. It's absolutely wonderful. The timber's wonderful on it. Everything sounds just so natural and full of life and energetic without being hot or sibilant in any sort of way, especially getting into that treble range. The treble range opens up and works in combination with that airiness and that openness in the mids to create a realistically large soundstage, as opposed to other earphones that, and I think it's due to that passive radiator on the back there, that it creates a far more immersive soundstage rather than it just being shoved straight down your ear canal. It's a big soundstage, and that treble accentuates on what the mids do with the airiness and the openness. The treble end of it and the sparkle, yes, can induce in some earphones the impression of soundstage, but it's not true soundstage. This just sounds absolutely wonderful. In terms of genres and what you would listen to this, it is a true all-rounder, guys. You can listen to anything with this. I found myself going from country to blues to jazz, back into classical, down to rock. And whatever I threw at it, it was just really good. Like, the only genre that I would have something different is EDM or something really bass heavy, and that's only because I use a specific earphone for that specific genre, one that is going to target EDM music with a massive monstrous bass response. I don't listen to other music on that earphone. Like, for example, I wouldn't listen to classical on my bass heavy earphones. This is an all-rounder, but something that will blow your socks off in any of the non-EDM genres, in terms of like the ones that don't have super heavy bass. A super bass heavy earphone is always going to be better for super bass heavy music, but for everything else, this is wonderful. And when you consider the price, this is such a good buy right now. Love this earphone. In terms of negatives, maybe the detachable cable system, maybe change the cable system, but the cable's already really good. The chrome finish is a fingerprint magnet. You're going to have to live with that, and I would like to maybe see like a set of ASLAs or something like that in the ear tip department, but other than that, this is an extremely hard to fault earphone. So thank you for watching again, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.